And then repeating the same thing here on the other side with your 1 fingertip dimension and a skewer right down in there, and then further back along the hull, about equal to where I did it on the other side. Same thing again. And then to do the next layer, I'm gonna have to cut all these skewers off. So that's what your nice cheap flush cuts from Harbor Freight are perfect for. Next layer, same thing. Fingertip width. Pin it. Down through. And then the same thing going down the hull. The next area, same thing, fingertip. Pin it again. And repeat all the way down. And the same thing for the other side. Fingertip. Just like that. You can use something else. Instead of a fingertip, you might have much smaller fingers, much larger fingers. Maybe you have a different idea, but just make sure that it is a uniform dimension. To me, a fingertip is great because I can't lose them. If it was a pencil or a measuring tape or you name it, I will put it down, and even though it's right here, I won't be able to find it. My fingertips, I've never lost them yet, and I hope I never do. Once again, trim off your skewers. Now you don't have to throw them away. I actually use the same nips that I have right there for snipping a new tip on the end of this bamboo skewer where it's cut off, so I can reuse them multiple times even when they're shorter. And you just keep doing that with each level, same dimension all the way up. Gives you a nice flare to the sides of the boat, which is, especially in the bow and stern, is key to riding over waves and not having waves splash in over the side when you don't hit them straight on. And yeah, we are having these big gaps in the ends and it doesn't look right. We'll deal with that next. We're actually going to use little filler blocks, and then here on the bow later on we'll actually glue some pieces on to give it a nice flared pointy bow like it should have, instead of a flat one like it is right now. Once again, same thing with your very top row. I'm going to use the same dimension. Pin them, just the same. And when you're running your screws, and you really only have to go down into the next layer, because you're going to have to pull these back out when we get to the step where we glue everything together. And it's easier if you can just pull them up a little bit, put your glue on, put them back down in. That way you're not having to pull and come up with new skewers and everything else. And it saves you a little bit of time in the long run. Like I said, we're going to make filler blocks for these ends so they're not gapped open like that. Instead, there's actually something filling them in. But more importantly, first, we want to take and mark the edges where these line up, like right down here. And also on each rib going up. All the way around, full length. Because this is how we're going to make sure it all comes back together when we're ready to glue it. Now when we're gluing it, because of course while the glue is wet, everything's going to be trying to shift around and move and trying to align it and find where you wanted the skewer and all this kind of stuff. you don't want to be dealing with then. You just want it to be ready to go together. And this way, with the edges marked and scribed, like I was just showing you, you don't have to worry about, oh, did I get this right? You already know. The shape that you're seeing right now will come back together again when the glue is on and curing and everything else. Another quick check. If you see, I've got my seat in there. I've got it back at the dimension I wanted. And I will have plenty of room. Looking at these feet, it could even be a couple inches behind that. You always want more room. That's always better. And so that's perfect because both of the ribs coming in on the sides don't interfere with the seat. And there's a mark right there. That's where the back of the forward seat will be. And the person will have up into here for their footroom. Basically, the only thing, we're going to have a forward bulkhead here whenever a bucket would fit into that end as far as possible and stop, but that's a later step. But this is plenty of room for 2 paddlers with their seats, plenty of room for them to carry, lunch, gear, water, whatever, beach towel, whatever they want to bring with them. Have some enclosed space for things you don't want getting out in the water and the sun and whatever else, and plenty of room in the cockpit for everything you want to carry and for paddling without feeling crowded. Overall, I like the way this is coming together. Like I said, I don't think I've done a 2-inch rib one before. I've always done 3-inch, but it's an experiment and I'm liking it so far. We'll see once I sand it all out, because the foam is not really as much strength as you'd imagine. The fabric on the outside is a lot more of it. So that's why I wanted to try that. So we'll be going on. I'll be scribing all these edges like I showed you. And then we'll go on to making the filler blocks.